I think the first thing that needs to be said is just really taken aback by the support that we got here from our fans. Steeler Nation, continually, man, they show up, man. I just thought it was awesome, man. The environment for a road venue was special. It was special to be a part of. A lot of good things. The splash plays, the block punt. Can't say enough about TJ that hadn't already been said in terms of his ability to impact the game in a variety of ways. It is special. We're not surprised by it, but it's still special.
Mike Tomlin there, his opening statement, part of it at least, after the Steelers beat the Raiders 32-13. A weird one, Dorin. A real weird one. When you consider the Steelers had 18 first downs, Raiders had 16. Both teams not great on third downs. Both teams ran about the same number of plays. Both teams had darn near the same number of yards, almost the same exact yards per play. One team turned it over 3 times. One team didn't. One team blocked a field goal, or a punt, excuse me. The other team didn't. And for me, those obviously were the differences in the game. So, broad strokes, how we feeling today after Steelers 32, Raiders 13?
The Raiders stink.
Terrible.
I mean, that's just kind of where, I know that a win is a win, but, like, this win, it just doesn't do anything for me. Like, if they were to lose, it'd have been horrible because this team is that bad. They had so many penalties. They just looked like that they were out of sorts. Like, they just didn't know who they were. Like, they didn't even really want to be there. Like, they're just coasting through the season at this point. They'll probably make a coaching change. You know how all that stuff goes. But, the Steelers, I guess they did what they needed to do. And I wasn't impressed at all. I don't think I was impressed. I was impressed maybe a little bit by Najee.
Yep.
Justin Fields, he did use his legs. And, he scored some touchdowns with his legs. But you should be able to do that stuff against a bad football team like the Raiders. So, all in all, really, I'm not impressed, and, a win is a win. I get it, but, whatever.
I don't care that they wound up only giving up 13 points. People are going to get mad about this. I know it already. How Aiden O'Connell leads them down the field to score a touchdown on the first drive like a hot knife through butter when you don't have Devontae Adams. They didn't have their top 3 wide receivers.
Right.
You've got one threat, and that's Brock Bowers. The running back was out. I don't care that this seems to be something that continues to happen to them, and then they generally settle in. That's who they are now. And you play good teams, and you're just going to give them 7 points right off the bat. That's going to bite you in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't in this game because the Raiders stink. But that just can't happen. So that irritated me. The first half was bad. They played bad football in the first half. You're up 5 points against that team, and it's basically a home game, as Mike Tomlin talked about to start the show there. Didn't really inspire much confidence. And then even the second half, it just doesn't feel like the final score was indicative of the way the game was played.
Mm-hmm.
But you mentioned Najee Harris. That can't get swept under the rug. His 38-yard touchdown run was the best run of his career, and maybe that 15-yard run where he carried the entire Raiders defense might have been the second best run of his career. And I wonder, Dorin, if, and he would not go this far in his post-game press conference, I wonder if Jaylen Warren being back and healthy is what sparked this guy.
You're exactly right.
Bang.
Exactly right. We talked about it last week. Najee Harris is a 50-50 guy, and I know that it wasn't a 50-50 split, but the fact that he knew that there was somebody that he's going to share reps with, that's whenever he's usually his best. Whenever he's asked to be the guy, he's not at his best. He can't carry that load on his shoulders for some reason, and that's fine. That's fine, but I am absolutely with you. I was thinking about that the whole entire game. He knew that Jaylen Warren was relatively healthy, was going to play in this game probably a lot, but didn't really need to, as Najee was, picking up everything. But I think he understood that, all right, like, if I don't bust my hump, if I don't have one of my better performances, this is kind of where the tides will turn, where they'll start incorporating Jaylen even more, not even just this week, but as the season does go on. And he kind of halted that throughout this game. And that definitely pushed him. That definitely gave him that that extra oomph to play the way he did.
Any doubt that was the best run of his career, the 38-yarder?
That was unbelievable.
I've seen the still shot of him like caught in the wash. I can't believe he scored.
Right.
I cannot believe he scored. And then the breakaway speed down the sideline.
Yep.
If Najee Harris played like this more often than not, no one would ever say not worth the pick in the first round.
Yep.
He would have had the fifth-year option picked up.
Yep.
He'd be a Steeler for life, but it's too few and far between. I don't want to do that to Najee. I did want to get that out there. He played really well. You need him to play like this. You need to be able to run the ball like this moving forward. You have to. This is how you're designed. This is the way you want to win football games. And I thought Justin Fields' legs had a lot to do with it, too. This was the most active he's been in the running game. Design stuff, scrambles. Couple of times we saw him, I think, get close to warp speed in the middle of the field where maybe a move or two or a missed tackle could have taken the thing the distance. Justin Fields, and we'll get into him more full form at 7 o'clock. That's pretty much been the way this thing goes. 7 o'clock. Hey, who should start a quarterback next week? 412-928-9370. I thought if you want to go with Russell Wilson, he made enough bonehead plays in this game for you to make a legitimate argument you could go with Russell Wilson. I thought his legs in particular, he showed enough, and he got outside the pocket and made some throws too, that you could say, oh, you need to keep going with Fields. It's the perfect Rorschach test of a football game. Whatever you wanted to see, you saw it in this game from Justin Fields, good or bad.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it was like manufactured for him to run like he did, because you would think that, and we kind of were we were anticipating this past week. All right, well, Justin Fields is going to run more because Russell Wilson's going to be the number 2, so they'll feel comfortable with him and putting him in harm's way a little bit more because they know they can revert to Russell. But the runs that he did have weren't really, maybe there were some, but they were more improvised on his behalf.
One of them looked like a just full-on broken play, and he, see ya.
Yeah. It was, but that makes you wonder why he hasn't done that even more before. Like, he should do that every single game.
Yes, that's the biggest weapon he's got, and it's darn near impossible to stop because he's the best athlete on the field, and he's big and strong. I do have legitimate concerns, especially now with the Zach Frazier injury, and we'll find out more likely tomorrow on how long he's going to be out, with how Russell Wilson's going to be able to stand back there and make plays. There was one scramble from Fields where, did you see Broderick Jones? What in the world is he doing?
He was doing anything. Was it that one?
Yeah, the ball gets snapped. He meanders forward a yard and a half, and then he backs up because he thinks it might be a pass, and he doesn't want to be downfield. And I've never seen anything like that. Did he mistime the snap count? That's my best guess on it. I think that's what happened, right? Because he stands up. It's like, my man, what the hell is going on? So I do have concerns about this offensive line. They did run the ball better. A lot better. And Najee Harris had a lot to do with that. Najee Harris credited his teammates after the game, saying it takes all 11. Pat Freiermuth had a great block on the 38-yard run. And then Najee made that corner miss, which we were talking about before the show. So it takes all 11 to be able to run the ball effectively. I worry about Russ and the mobility and how many drives are going to get stymied by him having pressure in his face darn near right away, because we saw a lot of that with Justin Fields.
The thing about Russ, though, where you can see how it could work, is his ability to check into different protections, to see certain fronts, to understand where the pressure's coming from, and to get the ball out of his hands quicker. Like what Justin Fields does with his legs, Russell Wilson can do with getting the ball out quick, and not just getting it out quick and getting erratic with it, but getting it out into the right spot where it doesn't get intercepted. That's the only way where it's like, okay, like it might look okay.
To that point, which is, I think, a very good one, I don't think we've seen the Steelers' offense this year at any point for a full game look as good as it did in 2 of those final 3 games last year with Mason Rudolph. And I think Russell Wilson can change protections, can go through his progressions, can stand back there, and survey things in a way that Fields can't. And I think that's what Rudolph did. He just got the ball where it was supposed to go, and look what happened.
Yep.
So I think there's big-time validity in what you say. Not that you need me to rubber stamp it, but yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. We'll get into all the quarterback stuff coming up at 7 o'clock. Don't look now, and it's not a huge difference, and it's not a big sample size, but the Steelers, through 6 games last year, were averaging 17.2 points per game, had 8 offensive touchdowns. Oh, my God. 8 touchdowns through 6 games. This year, the Steelers have scored 20.7 points per game, 11 offensive touchdowns. So not great, but we talked about it before the year. If they get up to that 21, 22 points per game range, they could win some games based on how good the defense is. So it's not worlds better, but we're talking about 4 points better through 6 games. Okay, pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Not great. Not perfect by any measure. And again, it looked bad at times, particularly in the first half of this football game. But they are making strides offensively, and I think it's important to point that out. How impressive was this Steelers victory? 412-928-9370. And also don't look now, Steelers, before Buffalo plays tonight, have the best point differential in the AFC. When they were 11-0 in the COVID season, everyone kept saying, look at that point differential, though. They're not outscoring teams enough. For an 11-0 team, this point differential leaves you worried. And those people wound up being prescient. Now they got the second best point differential in the AFC. I don't know what it means. Just pointing that out. Buffalo will overtake them tonight, but probably going to be second best in the AFC after tonight. Not a bad place to be.